My dear brothers and sisters, there comes a time when the mirror no longer tells the truth you once believed. There comes a dawn when the familiar voice inside you whispers, "This is not all that I am." That, my friends, is the beginning of your becoming. To reinvent yourself is not to deny who you were, but to bless it and move forward. It is to gather your lessons, your bruises, and your dreams and weave them into a new fabric of purpose. It is to look at your own history, not with shame, but with the eyes of a teacher, saying, "I learned, I rose, I am still learning." Each of us carries within a library of untold chapters. But too many stop at the first volume, believing the story has ended. I tell you today, education is the key that unlocks the next page. Not just the education of books and facts, but of patience, of forgiveness, of self-understanding. To learn who you are becoming is the greatest study of all. Do not fear the shedding of your old self. The snake must lose its skin to feel the sun anew. The tree must let fall its leaves to stand tall again. And you too must be brave enough to release what you once called comfort. When failure visits you, and it will, do not turn her away. She is not your enemy, she is your mirror. She reflects the parts of you that hunger for growth, that ache to expand. Failure is the faithful friend who hands you the blueprint for your next rise. Sit with yourself sometimes in silence, for reinvention is not always a loud celebration. Sometimes it begins in the quiet, in the stillness of the night when you whisper, "I can be more." That whisper is your spirit's rebellion against stagnation. And when you rise, do not rise alone. Lift another as you climb, because service to others is the most powerful form of self-renewal. In giving, you find your greatest transformation. You, my friend, are the author of your own becoming. Take the pen from fear's hand and write boldly. Do not wait for permission to grow. Do not wait for applause to evolve. Stand firm in your becoming, educated by life, strengthened by grace, and illuminated by courage. The power of becoming is the quiet thunder that moves within us all. It is not a lightning strike that demands to be seen, but a steady fire that burns, reshaping us from the inside out. Each day, life extends its hand and whispers, "You are not finished." And whether we are ready or not, the invitation stands to become more, to unfold, to expand beyond the narrow corners of who we once were. Becoming is not a moment, it is a lifelong movement. We are born as seeds, not statues. The world tries to chisel us into shapes that fit its liking, but our task is to grow, to stretch, to rise beyond those limits. Growth requires courage, the kind that doesn't always roar, but breathes quietly, saying, "I will not stay the same." The power of becoming is found in that whisper, in that gentle defiance against the pull of comfort and the gravity of fear. Every sunrise is a classroom, every mistake a teacher. When you awaken to the truth that you are still becoming, you begin to see learning not as an obligation, but as liberation. You realize that knowledge is not just what fills your mind, it's what frees your soul. Education in its truest sense is not the memorization of facts, but the transformation of the self. To become means to question, to observe, to reflect, and to rise above the boundaries that once held you still. There will be seasons when you feel lost, uncertain, or undone, but that is not failure. It is formation. The caterpillar must dissolve before it can fly. Likewise, you must sometimes fall apart to understand what holds you together. The power of becoming asks that you surrender your old skin, your old patterns, your old fears. It asks that you trust the process of unmaking and remaking, even when the in-between feels unbearable. Many people live their lives as if they are complete, as if the story has already been written. But those who carry the spirit of becoming know that there is always another chapter. They know that age is not a measure of completion, but a testament to evolution. Each year, each experience, each encounter is another line in the poem of who you are becoming. Do not let the world define your potential. The world loves to label, to limit, to lock people inside the boxes of their past. But you, my dear, are far greater than any label. You are not bound by who you were yesterday, for every breath you take is a chance to begin again. The past is a reference, not a residence. The future is not a faraway dream. It is shaped in the choices you make today, in the way you choose to think, to speak, to learn, and to grow. To become is to believe that change is possible even in the smallest corners of your life. It is to understand that your purpose is not fixed. It evolves as you do. The power of becoming lies in the humble, persistent decision to keep learning, to keep loving, and to keep rising even when no one is watching. You are not who you were, and you are not yet who you will be. But in this moment, in this sacred middle, you are becoming. To reinvent yourself, you must first find the courage to shed the old self, the version of you that once protected you but now holds you still. We all build layers around our souls, habits, fears, memories, and roles that once served a purpose. But as time moves, as we grow, those same layers can become cages. The hardest truth to face is that sometimes the person you have been is the greatest obstacle to the person you are meant to become. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward even while fear breathes down your neck. Reinvention asks for that kind of courage, the kind that stands trembling but still chooses change. You must be willing to step away from the familiar noise of your old life and walk into the quiet unknown where anew you can take shape. The old self will call you back. It will whisper that safety lives in what you know. But growth never blooms in comfort. You must be brave enough to let the past version of you fade, to thank it for what it taught you, and to release it with love. Each of us has worn identities built from the expectations of others. We learn to behave in ways that please, to speak words that blend, to hide dreams that seem too large. But reinvention means peeling away those layers until you reach your truest essence. It means asking yourself, who am I when no one is watching? Who would I be if fear had no say? The courage to shed the old self is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to the person you were before the world told you who to be. Shedding the old self is an act of grace. It is to honor your journey, not erase it. You do not curse your past, you thank it for the lessons it offered and the strength it built. The experiences that once broke you also shaped your foundation. The mistakes you once feared to admit are now the stepping stones that lead you toward understanding. To shed the old self is not to start over. It is to start deeper, with wisdom carved from pain and persistence. It takes immense bravery to leave behind what is known, even when it no longer fits. We cling to our identities like armor, afraid of the vulnerability that change demands. But the shell that once protected you becomes too tight as you grow. You cannot carry old ways into a new season. Just as the tree must surrender its leaves to prepare for spring, you too must release what no longer nourishes you. Do not rush this shedding. Reinvention is not a storm, it is a sunrise. It comes softly, layer by layer, moment by moment. The more you let go, the lighter you become. And one morning, you wake up and realize that courage was never about slaying dragons or winning battles. It was about standing before your reflection, unguarded, and saying, I am ready to become again. Learning is the truest form of liberation. It is the quiet revolution that happens within the mind before it ever changes the world outside. To learn is to step into the vast field of possibility, where ignorance is not shameful, but simply the soil in which understanding can grow. Education, in its deepest sense, is not confined to the walls of classrooms or the pages of books. It is the lifelong pursuit of awareness, empathy, and truth. When you begin to learn, you begin to awaken. So many people live as though their minds were finished, as though they have seen all they need to see and known all they need to know. But learning is not a destination. It is the very motion of life. The moment we stop learning, something within us begins to fade. Growth slows. Imagination dims. The spirit begins to settle into the dust of routine. To keep learning is to keep breathing, to let curiosity be the air that keeps your soul alive. Learning frees us from the prisons built by our own assumptions. It invites us to question what we once accepted without thought. It stretches the mind beyond what is comfortable and asks us to see from another's eyes, to listen from another's heart. It humbles us, reminding us that wisdom is not the possession of the few, but the pursuit of the open-minded. When you learn, you are not simply gathering facts. You are expanding your understanding of what it means to be human. The world teaches in countless ways. If only we pay attention. The child teaches us wonder, the elder teaches us patience, and failure teaches us humility. Every experience, no matter how ordinary or painful, carries a lesson waiting to be recognized. To treat life as a teacher is to walk through it awake, to see every moment as a chance to grow wiser, kinder, and more capable of love. True learning requires vulnerability. You must be willing to admit what you do not know. You must be brave enough to unlearn what no longer serves truth. Many carry false beliefs not because they wish to, but because they fear the discomfort that new knowledge brings. Yet that discomfort is sacred. It is the stretching of the mind, the gentle breaking that allows new light to enter. Learning demands humility, and humility is the birthplace of all wisdom. When we educate not only the mind but the heart, we discover freedom that no one can take away. A free mind cannot be enslaved by ignorance, and a wise heart cannot be manipulated by fear. Learning gives you the language to express your truth, the clarity to see beyond illusion, and the power to choose with understanding rather than habit. Each book, each conversation, each moment of reflection builds another bridge toward your higher self. The more you learn, the more capable you become of creating a life that is intentional, compassionate, and strong. To learn is to liberate yourself from limitation, to step beyond who you were and into the infinite possibility of who you can still become. Failure is not a punishment. It is a mirror that reflects the parts of you still waiting to grow. Most people run from it, hide from it, or carry its memory like a scar that must be concealed. But failure, when seen through the eyes of wisdom, is not the end of a story. It is a revelation. It shows you what you did not see, what you did not know, and what you were not yet ready to hold. It humbles you, yes, but it also prepares you. The mirror of failure does not mock, it teaches. When you stand before failure, the first impulse is shame. You feel the weight of disappointment, the sting of expectation unmet. But if you look closer, beyond the surface of regret, you will find an invitation to learn, to adapt, to become more than you were before. Each failure, no matter how heavy, carries within it the seed of transformation. You may not see it at first, but time reveals that what you once called a setback was in truth a redirection. The mirror of failure demands honesty. It strips away excuses and illusions, leaving only the truth of your effort. It is there, in that raw honesty, that growth begins. When you stop blaming circumstance and start examining your choices, you open the door to understanding. Failure will show you not just what went wrong, but also what still lies untapped within you. The courage, the creativity, the discipline waiting to be awakened. Some of the greatest teachers wear the face of failure. History is filled with names we celebrate now, though they once stood where you may be standing, defeated, uncertain, doubting their worth. But they looked into that mirror and did not turn away. They studied their reflection, not with bitterness, but with determination. They allowed their disappointments to become their instruction. From that reflection came resilience. From that resilience came greatness. To fear failure is to fear your own growth. Every new beginning is born out of something that did not work before. The person who avoids failure avoids life itself. For to live fully is to risk falling, to stretch beyond what you know, to reach for something uncertain. The one who never fails is the one who never dares, and the one who never dares remains unformed, untouched by the sculpting hand of experience. You must learn to meet failure as a friend, a stern but faithful one. It will challenge you, but it will never abandon you. It will ask you to reflect, to reimagine, to rebuild. And in that rebuilding, you will discover strength you never knew was yours. When failure comes, do not bury your head in shame. Lift your eyes and ask, what is this here to teach me? For every failure holds an answer, a lesson, a hidden blessing. The mirror does not lie, it only reveals. And when you have the courage to face it, you will see not the end of your potential, but the beginning of your becoming. The art of stillness is one of the most difficult lessons to learn in a world that glorifies motion. We live in a time where constant activity is mistaken for progress, where silence is treated as emptiness, and where stillness is confused with weakness. Yet the truth is, growth does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers in the quiet corners of our being. The most profound transformations often happen not in the noise of doing, but in the gentle pause between thoughts, where clarity begins to bloom. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of awareness. It is the ability to sit within yourself and listen to the murmurs of your own soul. When you slow down long enough to hear your inner voice, you begin to uncover truths that the rush of daily life drowns out. In stillness, you meet yourself. You face your fears, your longings, your memories, and your hopes without distraction. It is a meeting that many avoid, for it demands honesty and courage. Yet it is in that meeting that healing begins. The art of stillness teaches patience. Just as a seed cannot be forced to bloom before its time, you too must learn to trust the rhythm of your becoming. There are seasons meant for movement and seasons meant for rest. Stillness allows you to sense the difference. It tells you when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to listen. When you practice stillness, you stop chasing life and start aligning with it. You begin to understand that everything you seek, peace, wisdom, direction, already exists within you, waiting to be recognized. In stillness, the mind settles and the heart speaks. You learn to see life not through the lens of urgency, but through the grace of presence. The moments you once hurried through become sacred. The air feels deeper, the sounds sharper, and the world more alive. Stillness expands your perception, helping you notice the beauty hidden in the ordinary. The flicker of light through a window, the steady rhythm of your breath, the quiet strength of simply being alive. We have been taught that success belongs to those who are always striving, but the wise know that even the strongest rivers need calm banks to flow between. Without stillness, energy scatters. The spirit becomes tired, the vision blurred. But in stillness, purpose gathers itself again. You begin to move with intention rather than impulse. Each decision becomes clear, each step deliberate, and each action rooted in peace rather than pressure. To master stillness is to reclaim your power from the noise of the world. It is to understand that silence is not an emptiness to escape, but a sanctuary to enter. The art of stillness does not ask you to stop living. It asks you to start living with awareness. It is in that sacred pause, that gentle breath, that you discover the strength that has always been yours, waiting quietly beneath the noise. Service is one of the most sacred ways to renew the self. When you choose to serve something greater than your own comfort or ambition, you begin to see life through a wider lens. Service expands the boundaries of the self. It stretches the heart beyond personal gain and teaches the spirit humility, empathy, and purpose. To serve is to understand that your life, your gifts, and your time are not meant to end with you. They are meant to flow outward, to touch others, to build something lasting beyond your name. True service is not about grand gestures or applause. It is born quietly from a place of love and understanding. It can be found in a word of kindness, a helping hand, a patient ear. Service is the language of compassion spoken through action. When you serve with sincerity, you do not diminish yourself, you multiply your light. Each act of giving plants a seed of renewal within you, reminding you that joy grows best when shared. There is a kind of healing that comes only through serving others. When you give your time, your wisdom, or your care, you begin to move beyond the walls of self-centered thought. You realize that the burdens you carry are lighter when you help someone else lift theirs. Service transforms pain into purpose, confusion into clarity, and isolation into connection. It shows you that your story, no matter how difficult, can become a bridge for someone else's hope. To serve is also to learn. You discover lessons in the eyes of those you help, in their resilience, in their gratitude. You learn that every person you meet carries a universe within them, and that to serve another is to honor that universe. Service humbles you. It reminds you that greatness is not in how much you have, but in how much you give. It teaches that leadership is not about control, but about compassion, not about standing above, but walking beside. When you serve, your own spirit is renewed. You begin to understand that fulfillment does not come from accumulating more, but from contributing more. The emptiness that ambition alone cannot fill begins to dissolve in the warmth of shared humanity. Service reawakens the part of you that knows the simple truth: we rise by lifting others. In helping someone else find their way, you often find your own. Many seek transformation through achievement, yet the soul is most deeply transformed through service. The act of giving, without expectation, polishes the heart like a river smooths a stone. It refines your character and deepens your understanding of purpose. When you live with a spirit of service, you no longer chase meaning, you create it. Each day becomes an opportunity to be useful, to be kind, to leave the world a little lighter than you found it. In the end, service is not just what you do, it is what you become. It is the quiet flame that keeps your humanity alive, the sacred rhythm that renews your spirit again and again. To become your own author is to reclaim the pen from the hands of circumstance, expectation, and fear. It is to recognize that your life is not a script already written, but a blank page waiting for your truth. Too often, people live by stories handed down to them. Stories written by parents, by society, by failure, by the echoes of other people's judgments. They follow paths they did not choose, recite beliefs they never examined, and carry dreams that do not belong to them. To become your own author is to break that pattern. It is to stand before your life and declare, "I will write this story myself." Writing your own story does not mean erasing your past, it means understanding it. Every chapter has meaning, the joyful ones, the painful ones, even the pages you wish you could tear out. They all shaped your voice. They taught you how to speak, how to survive, how to rise. The pen of authorship is found in reflection. When you look back with honesty and grace, you begin to see the threads that connect your past to your purpose. You begin to write not from regret, but from revelation. Being your own author requires courage, for it often means writing against expectation. The world loves to define people. It hands out titles and labels like they are destiny. But those who live fully know that identity is not given. It is created. You must write the kind of story that reflects your truth, even when it goes against what others believe you should be. That courage is not loud, it is steady. It is the quiet conviction that says, "I know who I am becoming, even if no one else does yet." Every author faces the blank page with uncertainty. You will too. There will be times when you doubt the ink in your soul, when you fear the words will not come, when the story feels too heavy to tell. But the act of writing your life is not about perfection. It is about persistence. You do not need to know the ending to begin. You simply need to trust that with each word, each choice, each breath, you are shaping something worth reading. To write your life well, you must also be willing to edit. Growth demands revision. You may realize that some chapters must close, that some characters cannot stay, that some dreams no longer fit the person you are becoming. This is not failure, this is authorship. A wise writer knows that a story evolves as its author evolves. What once felt certain may later need rewriting, and that too is beautiful. When you live as your own author, you stop waiting for someone to rescue your story. You understand that no one else can give your life meaning. You must give it meaning yourself. You begin to write boldly, guided by purpose rather than permission. Each day becomes a new page, each decision a sentence in the story of your becoming. The ink is yours, the paper is yours, and the power to write a masterpiece has been in your hands all along. So, my dear brothers and sisters, remember this. Life is not something that happens to you. It is something you shape, word by word, choice by choice, moment by moment. You are the author, the artist, the sculptor of your own becoming. The world will hand you many drafts of who it thinks you should be, but only you can write the story that belongs to your soul. Stand tall in your truth, move forward with grace, and let every day be a new page written in courage, kindness, and purpose. And as you continue to learn, to serve, to rise, may you never forget, the power to reinvent yourself has always lived within you.